there, welcome to another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm starting by using the January 2018 Tic-Tac-Toe mini challenge, which is a challenge that Mo over on our Facebook group, which is MercyTiara's 27-day challenge. The link is in the information section below. Every month Mo challenges us to a little mini challenge that usually goes along with our main 27-day challenge, and that is the big one that happens each month for which there's a prize, and it's really fun over there. If you haven't had a chance to join us yet, I encourage you to do so. I'm going to be using the bottom. So with the tic-tac-toe challenge, you can use any three in a row. And I'm going to be using the bottom three. So use both words and numbers in my title. I'm going to journal in a list or bullet format. And then I'm going to make it shimmer with embossing powder, shimmery mists, or watercolors. And so that's the three that I'm planning to use. And I don't always decide ahead of time, but in this case, I had a really colorful photo, so I definitely didn't want to use the middle where you're using two photos, one black and white and one color. I wanted both of my photos to be color. So that really limited me to one of the sides or the top or the bottom. So that's what I decided to go with. So I'm just going to get started by trimming down my photos. I printed them at 4x4 onto a 4x6 piece of paper, so I do have to trim them down a little bit. And they don't really have much of a border around them because I printed them so large that there's only this sliver of a border around it. I print all my photos at home on my Epson PictureMate charm. I have the PM225, which is an older version of the Epson PictureMate. And I'm going to be using the hip kit here. And this is my second project using the hip kit. I'm just pointing out here that I'll be using that bottom row of tic-tac-toe. And so I want to keep that handy so that I can remember what I actually need to do, because the last time I tried to do a tic-tac-toe challenge, I kind of cheated a little bit and I pushed the limit on how you interpret the row. Actually, I think I did the outside corners instead of a row, which is not really the way that a tic-tac-toe challenge works. So I am going to be using this beautiful piece of paper, which was designed by Irite Landgraf. It's one of the exclusive papers from the Hip Kit Club from the month of December. And what I really love about it is how the colors, I wasn't really planning on using that particular piece of paper, although I definitely wanted to use a piece of beautiful watercolor paper. And what I really love about it is that it follows the colors of my daughter's hair. Right now it's upside down, but if you flipped it around, with the exception of yellow, her hair follows those exact colors. So it goes from green to teal, which is kind of like that lighter blue, to a darker blue, to a purple, to a pink. And so that background paper is really going to help me tell the story of the colors in her hair. So I'm going to use that, although a part of me is thinking maybe that'll be too much, but one thing that I want to make sure of is that her hair really catches your attention in this project. That's one of the reasons why I printed my photos a little bit larger than I usually do. So 4x4 is a little bit bigger. Usually if I'm working with Instagram photos, I'm more likely to use 3x3 or 2.5 by 2.5, but I printed two of them, and I printed them larger so that even if I use lots of embellishments and bright colors, her hair will still grab your attention because it'll be the biggest thing on the page. So I have an assortment of papers there, pattern papers from the kit, that I just spread out in a kind of like in a fan shape so that I could see what patterns I have left from the kit from the last page that I made. And so obviously I have lots left. And I feel like any of these papers would look really beautiful with this photo. I'm going to also have a look at what chipboard pieces I might want to use. So I'm pulling those out. I'm just reminding myself of what embellishments and letters I have to work with. And I also don't want to forget about the tic-tac-toe challenge because like I mentioned, I cheated last time and I don't want to cheat again. So I also have these purple patterned papers, it's a homemade patterned paper, just a little strip of it. And then another piece of plain paper. It's just cardstock that has some purple splatter on it from my last project. And I thought that if I wanted to pull some purple in, I could use those little scraps as well. So at this point, I've decided pretty much that I'm going to be using this beautiful watercolor paper from Arete as my background. And I really do love how the strips of color mimic the strips in her hair. And except for that yellow. So what I'm talking about here, I am live streaming at the same time that I'm doing this with my Patreons, which includes actually Arete, who designed this paper. So she was there and we were talking about just that yellow at the top and how it's not part of her hair and how I could easily just ignore that, or I could put something over it, I could cover it up, or, we were kind of talking about what the options might be. So in the meantime, I'm going to just matte these photos because, as I mentioned, the little edge of white around them is smaller than what I usually would cut. And so I just matted them on a piece of white cardstock that also came in the kit. So I get the cardstock kit as well. And there's also this really beautiful blue in the cardstock. And so I actually decided to double matte them just to give them a little bit more emphasis and structure on the page, because as I mentioned, I suspected there might be a lot of colorful clutter around these photos, and giving them an extra matte, especially a high contrast, like a white matte contrasted with a really dark matte, just gives it a little bit more presence on the page. And so those photos actually do have quite a lot of structure and presence. Like they've got strong angles, like with the white and the really dark matting. And then there's also those black shelves behind her and the black of her hair in contrast with the really bright white t-shirt that she's wearing. And so I feel like these photos are going to stand up to whatever else I put on this page, which is good. So I have a title in mind that is not like the most clever title in the world, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I used a title that includes a number as well as letters. And so we were at the salon for 5 hours. So I want to use 5 hours in my title. I'm looking at these thickers that came in the kit. And they have all these beautiful words, and they're written in a really nice script font. And so the best one I could come up with was awesome. And there were some other ideas there, but I thought I might call this Awesome Unicorn Hair in 5 hours. So yeah, that's what I'm going with for my title. Like I said, it's kind of like a strange title, but it's the kind of thing we might say, right? So it's a good title. And so what I'm thinking here is that by using these gold letter stickers, these are glitter gold letter stickers, they kind of introduce some more yellow, because remember I had said that the one thing that's off on this paper is that yellow strip at the top, and gold is a shade of yellow, and these thickers are really, really beautiful. They're like a light yellow, so they're not too orangey. And I think that they're going to balance off nicely. So what I've decided to do is put the thickers that say 5 hours lower in the page so that it balances off with the yellow that's at the top of the page. And then I thought maybe I could do some things to make yellow more prominent in the page, like maybe have yellow be one of my colors that repeats in a couple of different ways. And so I'm wiggling my fingers there as I just kind of think, I guess. I have a large piece of waxed paper over my entire layout that will allow me to play with different configurations of laying out the title. Now, Irit had a wonderful idea for me as I was scrapbooking. One of the things I love about live streaming as I scrap is that I get to benefit from other people's wonderful ideas. And so she had given me the idea of perhaps coloring those letters. And I think the idea was that if I colored them, then they wouldn't be yellow. And I'm not sure if the original idea was to make them all different colors the way that I ended up going, or if it was to make them pink so that they could kind of blend more with the layout and the idea that I might have still been thinking about covering up that yellow strip with something like a top and a bottom to my page, like maybe a border or strips or something. So I put out my title, and at first I was thinking about you. Look at that word unicorn. I was thinking about kind of making a wonky title that has like the word unicorn in big and in small letters, kind of like taking advantage of the fact that this letter set includes large and small letters. But I really didn't like that. And also, of all the words, I really want the word unicorn to be the biggest and have the most emphasis on this page. So I'm going to leave the letters that spell out hours, it's actually like an abbreviation for hours, in a smaller font, in the smaller font. I'm going to have unicorn be the bigger one and hair also be in the smaller font. So all the letters except for 5 and unicorn are all in the smaller letters. And now I feel like I've got the design in terms of it's going to be in these two chunks, one above the photos and one below. I did switch the photos there. You saw that I had been orienting them the opposite way. I switched the photos because we read from left to right, and so I wanted, if I'm going to have some things be on the top and another thing be underneath, I want the top to be over to the left and the underneath part to be over to the right. I hope that makes sense. I'm fighting a bit of a cold right now. I don't know if you can tell from my voice. So I hope that this narration is not too nonsensical. I'm picking out Copic markers. I have what I consider a pretty big collection of Copic markers, but I certainly don't have all of them or nearly all of them. But I have a good assortment that allows me to play with different colors and combinations and stuff. So I'm just trying to pick out colors that are basically, I want a different marker for each letter in the word unicorn. And that one that I'm pointing to right now is the one that seems like it might not match the others the most because it's quite a bit darker. I'm just talking about Copic markers and the fact that I have a combination of Sketch and Chow Copic markers in my collection. I really prefer the Sketch markers. They're kind of like, they feel better in your hand, which is a silly reason to spend more money on something, but also there's more ink in them. So yeah, the reason I'm choosing Copic markers is because they are alcohol markers, so they will stick to almost anything. And I'm also just showing that I've got a small collection of touch markers, which are quite a bit less expensive, and so I can use those as well. So I did check on a little letter on my sheet already. I don't know if you caught me doing that, but I checked it with my pink marker to make sure that it actually would kind of make an impact. And so I'm leaving the U in unicorn yellow, and then I'm just going to follow the colors of the rainbow here, and the colors in her hair, and the colors in the paper on the background, basically. And it occurred to me here that, so this actually happened accidentally. So when I was doing the blue, I got a little bit of blue on the white foam under the stickers. I'm going to slow this part down for you. So it looked really messy. So what I did was I went back and I colored in that white foam, and it made all the difference in the world. Now, this is not just a very subtly colored letter sticker, that's C. It has this nice bold blue all the way around it so that if you look at it from any angle, it looks quite vivid, just as vivid as her hair looks. So I'm really, really pleased with the way that turned out. It was such a, what they call a happy accident. That's what Bob Ross would say. And so I'm going to go back and color the foam edges of each of these letter stickers because I just adore how this looks. such a happy accident. I'm so pleased with the way that it looks. And you really can't appreciate it from this overhead angle because this is a perfectly overhead angle. It's 90 degrees exactly to my desk. And so, or I don't know if that's exactly right, but it's a perfect angle to my desk anyhow. And so you really can't appreciate it almost any way that you look at the page. Even if you think you're looking at it from straight above, you're going to be looking at it from a little bit of an angle. And so you really do see, and you'll be able to see on the photos at the very end, that this actually makes a big difference in how these letter stickers look. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep on coloring in those letters. And now that I'm coloring the edges of them, I have to move them out of their spots because I don't want to accidentally color the wrong, have the marker touch the edge of the wrong letter. So this is my kind of fuchsia type of, or magenta, I guess. I don't know. I get fuchsia and magenta mixed up. And then this is a super, super bright pink. I love how this one turns out. It looks so pretty. And there's a lot of juice in my marker. What happens is every once in a while, the suction or the pressure inside of your Copic markers gets a little wonky and the marker gets quite messy. And so the way that you fix that is you just do what I just did. You just take both of the ends off of your marker at the same time, like both of the caps, and the pressure adjusts and stabilizes inside the barrel of the marker, and it doesn't do that anymore. And I learned that as a tip from a viewer of mine who saw my marker doing that during a process video and gave me that little tip. So thank you to her, whoever she was. Thank you. So now I have this dilemma of what am I going to do with the word hair? Where am I going to put it? And how exactly is this title going to work out? And I'm also mindful of the fact that, so I'm going to make this part of the title colorful as well. I was going to have it be blue, or not blue. I was going to have it stay gold because I thought that it would help the word unicorn stand out more. But I love the look of those letters colored so much that I couldn't resist coloring them all because I just liked the look of it a lot. So I have decided, even on the one that I'm leaving yellow, I'm kind of making it a little bit more intense yellow by using the yellow Copic marker. And I'm just the thing that I'm doing with these glitter thickers is because I really don't want to ruin my markers. So I'm being very careful with the tip, especially when I'm marking over the glitter. I'm just kind of dabbing the ink onto the glitter. You'll see me do it in a second. There we go. So yeah, you can't really tell, but I'm kind of dabbing the side edge of the marker onto the glitter so that it just kind of like the ink just falls onto the glitter. Doesn't fall, but the ink just kind of goes onto the glitter. There you go. Yep, there. I was hoping I would show that. So it does take a few minutes to color in the edges and the tops of all of these letters, but it's really worthwhile. I love the customized look. Love how they match both my background paper as well as the kind of like help tell the story. So I'm going to put so I thought about how I was going to color these letters because unicorn starts in yellow and then goes through the colors in the order of her hair and the background paper. And then hair in also starts with yellow and goes through those same colors. I just took a couple out where I needed to because I didn't have as many letters in hair in as I had in unicorn. And then for 5 hours, I just decided I would do this exact same thing. So start it with yellow and then work through the colors. It's just that the second 2 iterations of that come after the word unicorn are just shorter. So I had to omit some of the colors in that range of colors. So we start with yellow and we end with that really, really bright pink. And then I just had to pick which of those in-between colors would make the cut on this smallest of the 3 lines of colorful letters. And I basically just picked the colors I liked the best, that look the best on the foam stickers. So pretty. You do have to really look from all angles and make sure that there are no little white slivers of foam showing, because it really stands out. If there is any white foam showing, you'll definitely see it. So just take your time when you're coloring these letter stickers. Oh, I love how it looks. So the problem with this is that because it's on such a dark background, like such a colorful background, those letter stickers don't stand out as much as they would on white cardstock. And so there was a suggestion that I move this whole thing over to a white cardstock background. I think it was Irit who recommended that or suggested that. And I think that would look really great. But I was really stuck on using this paper. I love this paper, and I liked the idea of this page being all about the color, and I didn't think that removing the color would be a good way to send that message. So I am, however, going to use these really neutral embellishments, and by embellishments, I mean this one embellishment, from the cut-aparts in the Vicky Boutin set of die cuts. Not cut-aparts, the die cuts. So I am also looking at the crepe paper die cuts that also came in this kit. So I have the main kit and the embellishment kit, so I have more embellishments than you would have if you only had the main kit. And I'm thinking about using that Tell Your Story. I'm actually going to cover up Tell Your Story or have it hidden by the photos itself. And I'm thinking about using it as a doily. And so which means just kind of like as a neutral circular shape to go behind my photo to kind of soften up the edges a little bit. I did think about using an actual doily, but I really like that die cut a lot, and somebody recommended that I use it. I can't remember who. Oh, it was Irit. She told me about it, and I knew which one she was talking about as soon as she said that was a nice die cut to use with this. I said, yes, you're right. I like that one too. So I pulled that one out, and I'm thinking about cutting it in half, but I don't want to cut it until I'm actually committed to that idea in case I decide to use it somewhere else. So I have a couple of other die cuts pulled out, and this piece I think I'm going to use for my journaling, and then I have this label piece that I might use to back some or all of my letters. And then I don't want to forget about the fact that I want to use mist, because that's part of the tic-tac-toe challenge. So this is what I mean by using it kind of like as I would use a doily. So sticking it in behind and having an edge kind of stick out to soften up this. And I also really like the idea of having these photos almost look like a deck of cards that are fanned out, like not a deck, like a hand of cards that are fanned out. And I like to put something, because there's only 2 photos, not like 5 or 6 like you'd have in a hand of cards. I like to put things on either end to have that fanned out look in the center of a page. So that's my thinking behind using that embellishment. And I like that one because it is so neutral compared to pretty much everything else on this page is quite colorful and distracting. I love this Say What die cut that also came from the Vicky Boutin set. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. And I like it pointing to her face because it seems like the kind of thing that she would say. I don't think she's ever said that, but it's so cute. I like how the little lines are around the word say. It just looks really cute. I'm not a huge speech bubble user, and so when I find one that I really like, I want to get it on the page. So I'm going to put these die cuts here and here. I went ahead and cut it in half. I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it in that way. And for this one, what I'm doing is I'm thinking I might put the word hair here. So I cut it apart so that I could make it the size that I wanted it to be. So I do that often with die cut pieces that are symmetrical. I just cut it in half and then I overlap it upon itself so that I can make it shorter. I do this with label stickers a lot and labels, of which this is one. So now I'm thinking really what needs to be to have a little label behind it is not really the word hair, it's the word unicorn. Unicorn is the word I want to have stand out. So I'm looking through my label stickers, which I keep in this drawer. I'm storing my label stickers differently. I have a scrap room tour coming up that will show you how I'm storing some things differently now. And couldn't find one that was big enough for the word unicorn. So what I'm thinking is that I will just cut myself a label using some of my dies. So just having a look at my dies and realizing that the small dies that I have on my desktop are the ones that are small enough to go through my Cuttle Kid, which is a very small die cut machine. And so I had to go into my regular assortment of dies, not die cuts, and get these. So I went over to my Rascog and pulled these ones out. I have a couple of rectangles here from Lawn Fawn. And this one is wide enough, but as you can see, it's definitely too long, but I'll just fix it the way that I fixed the other one by making it shorter. And I'm thinking I'll probably want a scalloped edge around the outside edge of that rectangle, but I don't know for sure. So I'm just going to wait. And at first, I'm just going to cut the rectangle itself. So I have my spellbinder here. It's the Platinum 6 that I have, and I just keep it on my desk. It folds up really small, so it's very handy to have on my desk. And I'm just going to cut a white piece of cardstock. That's again another piece of the white that came in the cardstock kit. And that is the perfect width for me to put the word unicorn. So I like how that works. And that is a stitched rectangle, so it's got a little bit of interest on it, which I really enjoy. I'm going to move those letters down onto the rectangle, and I didn't space it quite well enough, but that's okay. I'll just scooch them all over a little bit. There we go. I like how that looks. And I'm thinking if it was a little bit not so wide, I could just layer it behind the photo, but that's not going to work because you'll see all that white gap on the edges of it. So I just made it smaller. You saw what I did. I cut a chunk out of the center of it and layered it so that I still have that stitched edge on the bottom. I didn't want to just cut off the bottom because you're going to see part of it as it rounds, like because it's wider than the photo, you'll see parts of it. So I wanted to make it look nice and neat and tidy and complete as well. Now the word unicorn is a little high on that die cut. And so what I've decided to do, I'm just cutting a piece of hot pink, also from the cardstock kit, with the scalloped edges. As I mentioned, I suspected I would want that. And once I saw the white die cut, I realized I did want to trim it out with something. So I'll do exactly the same thing with this. And yeah, you'll see how I wanted the unicorn, like the white cardstock, to have a nice finished edge, because you will see part of it. So now I just have to figure out how big I need to cut this rectangle so that it will, basically I need the scallops to line up properly so that they're not interrupted. So I'm going to glue the white piece to the larger pink piece. Oops, must have gotten it wrong. It's a little bit easier to do if you just get right over top of it, and then I'll glue the pink piece on underneath. And I'm just mentioning there to make sure that it's oriented in the right direction. And I'm just fussing with it to get it looking centered and you know, so it looks good. I really like how that looks. I think I'm going to show it to you close up. I hope I'm going to show it to you close up. Where I disappeared off to was across my room to my drawer of borders. I have a whole drawer just of border stickers and border items. And I wanted something to put in this space to fill it up, to make it look less like, you know, like it was forgotten, or, you know, I want it to look like that unicorn was up there for a reason, even though it wasn't. And that just adds a little bit of extra detail and brings in one of the colors that is elsewhere on the page. I like how that looks. So now I just have to kind of like get these things stuck together so that they're not separate elements on my page. kind of get this done for once and for all. So I want this photo to be the same angle as the N, and I want it up a little bit so that basically it's a little bit overextending where the unicorn die cut is. So I'm going to stick this down to my page just like that. There we go. Just centering it, just eyeballing it. I will insert these little floral black and white dies, and I'm going to be inserting those die cuts in such a way that you either can't see the letters on them because they have that phrase in the center or something about the story, or I will cover it with another embellishment when the time comes. Now, I need to put the hair in 5 hours, and I move that down thinking, because it's posing a journaling dilemma for me. I wanted some journaling to kind of start on the page, like start right below the photo of her facing us and then extend up to the word 5 hours, but it just kind of wasn't working that way. Like I wasn't going to be able to extend the journaling that way. So that's why I thought about moving that photo down, and then I ended up moving it up because I really didn't like it down. So I'm going to put say what so that it doesn't totally cover that border sticker that I put there for a reason. And I really love that say what. It's one of my favorite parts on the whole page. I use speech bubbles so infrequently that it really impresses me when I do use it. I'm thinking about maybe not using the word awesome because the word awesome is really kind of throwing this whole thing off. So I thought the only way that I could use the word awesome, I do like using it because I say that a lot, so it kind of fits with the title. But from a design perspective, it really stands out as looking strange along with the other letters. It's just so different from the other letters. So what I've decided to do is take other elements from that same set of stickers and spread them out around the page, especially putting that double underline under the word 5 hours. It helps kind of like cap it in. So you've got that black and white awesome, and then the unicorn hair in 5 hours, and then under 5 hours, you're kind of capping in the title with those double underlines from the same sticker set. And then I'm spreading those stars from the same sticker set around as well. So I missed a little spot on that letter, so I just filled it in. I guess I missed a couple of spots. Like I said, it's easy to miss spots when you're doing this. So take your time, keep your markers handy so that if you as you look at it from different angles, if you see some white showing, you can fill it in. What I love about those foam letter stickers is that they are quite forgiving. So they will stay put, but you can easily pull them up and change move them around a little bit, and they'll still be sticky enough to re-stick. So I'm looking at this chipboard and thinking, I love this chipboard and I haven't used it yet, so maybe I might want to get something else on this page. But the more I think about it, the more I think I kind of don't want to overdo it on the embellishing, because there is a lot going on this page just without the stuff that I did, right? So just her hair and just that background page is a lot. And then I added something fairly elaborate, like those letter stickers are quite, they're blingy and they're colorful and they're bright. And then I've got that contrast with the white behind the word unicorn. And then I've also got these black accents. And I just feel like if I put too much more on this page, it's going to look really random and cluttered. And there's nothing wrong with a random cluttered page. I love those pages and I sometimes make them. But remember when I said at the beginning, one of my main goals here is to make sure that her hair is the real emphasis here. And so I want to make sure that I stick with that and make sure that these things are not just gimmicks. Like I don't want to color the letters because I colored the letters because I could and it looked cool. I want them to be I wanted the letters to be colored because it's consistent with the idea of this ombre effect of colors, which is in her hair and on the background and in the letters. And I just felt like anything else that I do might take away from that really clear message that I'm trying to send with this page. So here I am just pre-planning my bullet journaling, which is part of the challenge. So the journaling says apply foils 1 hour, bleach foils 1 hour, Apply color 1 hour, perfect the color mix 30 minutes, set the color 1 hour, rinse and style 30 minutes. So it's just kind of like a breakdown of how those 5 hours went. If you're wondering about her hair, it is, and the photo in particular is the hair is quite brilliant in that photo, and her hair is quite brilliant, but it's even more so because they put this glossy styling product in her hair that made it really, really shiny and reflective. And then they stood her, the salon that we go to, has one of those giant, I'm forgetting the words of it, but it's like a ring light that you take a picture through. So it's got a ring with a hole in the middle, and the ring is lights. And you can hold your phone in the middle and take a picture. And if you look at her eyes have that little ring in them that the models and the makeup artists have when they do their YouTube videos and their Instagram videos and stuff. So it's kind of like a glamour shot, and her hair isn't usually quite that reflective, but it is pretty bright. We're pretty pleased with it. And it lasts 40 washes, so it's a newer product. My stylist had actually never used it before. She's quite an experienced stylist. She does a lot of training, but she had never actually had a chance to use this product. So she was excited to use it. And she also wasn't sure exactly how the colors would blend. The colors took a little bit more effort to blend the blue and the pink into purple, which is why the color mixing process took a little bit longer than what we expected. So now I feel like, as I mentioned, I really don't want to add any more embellishments to this, but what I do want to do is just cap it off with a matte. And so I typically love to have black and white mats on my pages. And so I looked at the black and white papers that came in the kit, including that one with those big blotchy squares all over it. And then I also went into my stash and I pulled out a couple more black and white photos. Now, what I don't like about this is I feel like I'd rather it be more black. I was saying if this paper was the opposite, this is a piece of crepe paper, that came in the kit. And then this is from my stash. It's from Felicity Jane. So I'm trying to decide between these two different looks. Can't decide, so I am going to cut down my paper while I think about it. But basically, if that black and white paper that I'm thinking about, the one from crepe paper, was the opposite, like if it was black with white squares on it, the decision would have been much easier for me to make, because I was wanting something dark around the outside edges that would kind of anchor my page and would also tie in with some of the darker elements on the page, like the word awesome and all those stars and stuff. Some of which I took off, but they'll be coming back. So see how the black and white diagonal paper, I'm thinking of the black and white diagonal paper as being a really safe choice because it's what I would normally pick. It's like my no-brainer choice. But then I keep loving this. I keep being torn and pulled towards this one, which I love the energy of it. I love that it's not the same. Like it's not symmetrical all the way around the page. So it's very unpredictable. And I'm going back and forth and back and forth. I literally cannot decide. Like I said, if this one was opposite, it would be an easier choice. I love the darkness that I get with the black and white striped, but this one is just so fun. And this one is more structured and organized. So I guess I have to decide, am I going with fun and whimsical to kind of go along with what I've already got happening? Or do I want to provide a little bit of balance with the fun and whimsical and add some structure with the diagonal lines? So I can't decide. So I am going to sew around the outside edges of this with some thread, with some black thread to, again, like I'm trying to figure out a way that I can make the blotchy paper work, like the crepe paper with the squares. Because I'd much rather use that because I like the idea of it. It's whimsical and fun and I want to use it, but I'm just not sure if it's going to provide enough contrast. So I'm going to try to add some extra contrast to the outside edges by adding some black thread. And this is going to add some contrast, but see, it's really not very much. So I'm going to sew around the outside edges twice in an effort to get the thread looking a little bit thicker, heavier, and higher contrast. I also went off the edge there, right beside the A in awesome, And so doing it twice is a good tip for whenever you make a mistake in either your outlining or your sewing. Just do it twice, and that gives you this look that looks like it's messy on purpose. So I'm just going to finish that off, and you can see how once I go over it the second time with the black thread, it is darkening that line. I went off the edge again because the A is pushing my presser foot over. So that kind of defeated that purpose, but I had two purposes for doing this. So anyhow, I really do like the contrast that gives this page. The question is, will it be enough to make that dotted paper work? And really, I think either paper would work. I'm probably spending more time thinking about this than I really need to. Maybe because I had a live audience, and maybe because I was just feeling a little bit more nitpicky than usual. But yeah, I'm going to go with this one. I like it. I didn't want those stars to be lined up, like to be so symmetrical, but I like them better this way, so I went with it. See, what I mean by that is I didn't want the stars on the left to look exactly like the stars on the right, but when I moved one of the stars up to make them off kilter, it just wasn't working. This was some trim that I had pulled out already, and my cat was playing with it, and so I for a second there, I thought about adding that, but it's not going to work. So this is Lila. She loves to play with scrapbooking supplies. Yeah, so I think I'm done. Am I done? No, I'm not done. I have forgotten all about the third one in the row of the tic-tac-toe challenge, which is to add shimmer by adding some mist or glitter or embossing or something. So I still have to add some mist, so I will do that next. I'm not 100% pleased with the way the journaling turned out in this, but it's okay. It's not horrible. I'm giving my Heidi Swap Color Shine, I'm using it in gold, and I'm giving it a really good shake to get the gold pigment all spread out through the mist. I'm using some packaging that I just keep in a drawer handy for these sorts of reasons. And I had all of my live streaming gear out. So this is a Tri-Art palette in white that I use for misting and just kind of protecting my work surface. But I have a piece of parchment paper that's attached to the top with packing tape, and that allows me to mask off and kind of like cover up my work, like the stuff at the top of my work surface. And I had a lot of equipment. I had my iPad and a camera and a microphone and some other things up there, so I definitely didn't want to get Heidi Swap Color Shine all over those things, so I made sure that I used the parchment paper for that one. So here are the close-ups of this page. I really love how it turned out. It's a really fun page. A part of me still wants to put more embellishments on this page, especially where those two flowers, like the flower die cut that I cut into two pieces. I feel like it could use some embellishments right there, like maybe some chipboard or something kind of medium-sized on either side of those photos. But I haven't yet, and if I do go back and add some embellishments to this page, I will let you know. But for now, I'm just enjoying it in its simpler form, and maybe this is the form that it will stay in. I don't know. You'll see an update from me if I do change it. Look at those letters! And I like how the white right behind the unicorn does help that word pop out a little bit. So thank you so much for watching, and special thanks to these Diamond Tiaras who support me over on Patreon. Without their support, I wouldn't be able to keep on spending as much dedicated time on my YouTube channel, so thank you to them. And also a really big thanks to you for watching this far into my video. I really appreciate your support of my channel. Watching to the end like this is actually one of the things that really, really helps me with the monetization of my channel. So thank you so much for sticking around for these last few minutes especially. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and comment. I'd love to hear from you. I'd especially love to hear what your ideas are about coloring those letter stickers. Was that something that you would do? Have you done it before? How has it turned out? If you're new to my channel, please hit the button in the center of your screen, which will subscribe you to my channel. And also check out the other videos that are shown here in the boxes below. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.